Hey y'all, and welcome to the Crazy Sock Lady podcast YouTube channel. My name is Kay, and this is my YouTube channel where I share all about my knitting, crocheting, crafting adventures. So this video is to chat about the Stash Busters 2020 KAL that I am co-hosting with my friend Julie from Twin Stitches Designs podcast. So I thought that it would be fun to kind of just have a video chatting about the knit along, going over the kind of rules and different things with the KAL, and then chatting about my approach to the knit along, to using stash, to buying yarn, all of the things that I'm going into 2020 with this KAL. I thought it would be fun to chat about that with you guys. So instead of doing it on the podcast, I thought it deserved its own separate video. So first, the Stash Busters KAL. Julie and I were chatting about doing the KAL and how we both have stash yarn that it's like, why haven't we used that? You know, I recently moved my office into this room and got some new cabinets. So there was a lot of organizing and going through my stash to get it into the new cabinets, and looking at it all and going through it all, I saw so many things that it's like, I bought this and was so excited to knit with it, but it's still in here. Why haven't I knit with it? There's just so much yarn and never enough time to knit it all. And then I know in my personal experience, when I first started buying indie dyed yarn, I started out with buying things for a project for the intent of knitting it when I got it. Something happened along the way where I don't know, I thought I needed to buy all the things because things are exclusive colorways, things are gonna go away and they're not gonna come back again. And I felt the need to have it all. The idea of the KAL is to use that yarn that you bought for a reason, or you were gifted and you fell in love with and you couldn't wait to knit with, but then you got distracted by all the other shiny things that come along and you have yet to knit with the stash. So that's the thought with the KAL, is use your stash. There are chatter and FO finished object threads open in my group as well as in Julie's group. I'm going to put links down below for both of the groups so that you can find those easily. And there are not a ton of rules with the knit along. I wanted to keep it simple, and I think Julie wanted to do the same. I just didn't want anything that was going to be too nitpicky about you have to do this to be included in the KAL or that. I just wanted to keep it simple because I know I don't have the time to keep up with something that's crazy, a lot of rules, a lot of things I have to check. And Julie's a busy mom and a working mom too, so I'm sure she feels the same. We just didn't want anything too crazy. Simple, fun, use your stash. The couple of things that I'll go through, there is a hashtag that you can use on Instagram, StashBusters2020. I will put that below and link it here. It's in the threads as well. Use that on Instagram. I know that I will, throughout the year, this is a year-long knit along, I will go to that hashtag and I might pull some winners for prizes. I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know what the prizes will be, but you never know. So use that hashtag if you are on Instagram. So I've got my computer here so I can go through the chatter thread, the rules that are listed in there with you guys. All right, so I always say make sure you go over to the chatter thread, you read through all of the information that is on there so that you can make sure your FO is gonna count for any KAL that you do. I think that's a good idea, to make sure that your entry will count. So for this one, it is year long. It's gonna be It's gonna be split into 4 quarters. What I'm gonna do in my thread, I'm not sure how Julie will do hers since we're doing it each in our own groups, but this is how I will be doing mine. The FO thread, there will be 1 per quarter. That'll just be easier for me to draw prizes from and all of that. So the first quarter FO thread is up now. When that one's done, I will open a second quarter at the beginning of April. So works in progress from a previous quarter can carry over to the new quarter. So if you're working on a sweater in the first quarter, you don't finish it by the end of the first quarter, that continues on. That kind of stuff goes on throughout the year. You can start a sweater in January, finish it in November, and enter it in November. That it won't be split into quarters as far as you have to start and finish something within that first quarter. The only way that that will apply is that there are themes per quarter. So let me go down here to where those are. The first quarter, the theme is socks. The second quarter are garments. The third quarter, accessories. And then the fourth quarter, scraps and mini skeins. So you get an extra entry if you knit socks within the first quarter. But if you knit a sock in the second quarter, that theme doesn't carry over in the second quarter. Say you start a sock in January, you don't finish it until May, you can't still get that second entry for the sock in May. That only counts for the first quarter. I hope that makes sense. So that is one way that you can get an extra entry. I'll go over the other way in just a moment. So let me go back up to some of the rules. So stash yarn, what does that mean? That is going to be anything that you had in your stash before January 1st. So you would have had to have purchased it, received it, everything before January 1st. Now, obviously, I have no way of verifying that since I'm not saying that you don't have to track your stash on Ravelry. I'll tell you in a moment how I'm looking at my stash and I'm going to kind of keep track of it. But this is not a requirement, but I'll talk about that after we go over the KAL. But it's not a requirement that you have to know how many skeins you have in your stash, that you have to track it on Ravelry. If you want to do that for your own personal thing, that's fine, but it's not a requirement. So obviously I have no way of checking that it is actually something you received. I'm just going to kind of do the honor code here, and I'm going to trust that you guys are going to be honest about that and make sure that it's something that was from stash, because that's the idea of the KAL, is to have fun using up our stash. So honor code for that, because I have no way to verify that. The project must be started January 1st or after. January 1st of 2020 or anytime after that. Nothing can be started before the beginning of the year. I think that just works since it's going to be a year-long KAL. No whips allowed for this one. You get one entry per finished object, per one finished object. So you finish a pair of socks, that's one entry. Again, there'll be some ways you can get extra entries. We'll talk more about those in a minute. But you finish a sweater, that's another entry. Finish a KAL, that's another entry. You can enter as many times as you have finished objects in the year. Don't have to have your stash recorded. Already went over that. Okay, now how can you get extra entries? So I already went over the themes, and each finished objects thread that I open will have the theme listed for that quarter, but it is also listed in the chatter thread if you kind of want to look ahead to when should I knit that garment to get an extra entry. That would be the second quarter. But okay, so yeah, if you knit the theme, finish it within that quarter. Now I'm going to say that if you start a sweater in January and you finish it within May, you finish it within that second quarter, it counts. It doesn't have to be started and finished for the theme within the quarter, but it just has to be started on or after the first of the year. If that doesn't make sense, let me know below and I'll explain that again, but I think that's how we'll do it. You could start it January 2nd and it's something for the theme that's scrappy and that's the last quarter. As long as you finish it within that quarter, that's the theme, it'll count. So that's how you can get an extra entry. So if you do that, you start a sweater, finish it within the garment themed quarter, you can enter that sweater twice. The other way you can get an extra entry is if you knit any of my designs, Crazy Sock Lady designs, or Julie's designs, which are twin stitches designs. I will link both of our Ravelry shops down below if you want to look at our patterns. I don't have any garment patterns, but Julie, she's got some gorgeous color work sweaters. So they're on my list. I want to do one of her sweaters this year. I think that is it. I want to make sure to note that you do not have to knit the theme. That is just how you can get an extra entry. We thought that would be kind of fun to add, but we want to keep it open so that you don't have to knit socks. You don't have to knit a garment. You can knit anything and it will count. But you want an extra entry, knit a sock during the first quarter. Prizes for the KAL, I don't know, sometimes with knit-alongs, I'll start adding photos of the prizes as they come in. I will try to keep up with that. Sometimes that can get a little tough to do. So maybe what I'll do is break it down into quarters and put pictures in there as they come in if they've been specifically donated for this KAL. So that way you guys are seeing who's donating prizes for the KAL and they're getting the recognition that they deserve for donating prizes. But then I also have some prizes left from things that were donated last year. So I'll probably throw those in as well for prizes. If you're a maker, you want to donate some prizes, just email me. I'll put my email below and let me know that you want to donate a prize for the knit along. So I think that's it as far as the rules and things go. Like I said, it's nothing too crazy. No crazy rules. Let's use our stash, let's have fun with it, and let's encourage each other as we go. I've already started a couple of socks from stash yarn, so that's fun. I'm feeling encouraged and motivated as I go into the year to use this stash. Now, how am I personally looking at the knit along? What have I done to prepare for the knit along? So let me shut down my computer here because I don't need it right now. I did count how many full skeins I have in my stash. I did not count skeins that I had used even a small bit from. Those did not count. So leftovers, scraps, minis, I did not count any of those. Even full mini skeins that I had purchased, like a set of minis, I didn't count those. I only counted full skeins. I thought that when it came to minis, that might be a little bit overwhelming to try to keep track of because I have a lot of minis, and I thought I'm not necessarily worried about those because I use them for scrappy things. I really want to focus on the full skeins. That's my main get more out that I'm putting in thing that I'm thinking here. And so I did go through and I counted. It's kind of, I don't know, I was gonna say it's kind of embarrassing, but I shouldn't be embarrassed about the stash that I have. I don't think any of us should be embarrassed about the size of stash that we have. So I have 339 full skeins of yarn. That goes through all weights, that's fingering. I have worsted, I have lace weight, I have DK, 339. Should I show you guys here? You're gonna get a glare from the window, but I'm gonna try. Hopefully that's not making you guys dizzy. Yeah. Okay, now let's see if I can get this back where it was. Did I do pretty good there? I think I did. So yes, I have 339. My goal is not to use all 339 because that's impossible this year, I'm sure. That would be crazy. My goal is not to use it all in one year. My goal is not to say you cannot buy any yarn this year. I am not setting anything crazy for myself. I don't want the pressure because for me, when I put a lot of pressure on myself about something like that, that's when I freeze up and I fail at it. And I don't want to set myself up for failure with this. And I don't want any of you to do that either. So have fun with it. That's what I'm going to do. I counted just so I could kind of look back at the end of the year and see the change. Let me grab a notebook really quick because I'm going to show you how I'm going to track that. Okay. I wish you guys could see this room right now because I didn't show you the floor. This is my third video I've recorded today, and this room is a disaster right now. But I have this cute notebook that my friend Karen gave me. It's actually stitched on there, a K for Kayla, my name. So all right there. But I haven't used this. I used this when I went to, I think, Maryland Sheep and Wool, and I wrote down things I wanted to buy. So I just ripped those pages out. Nothing fancy because I don't have time to go that crazy. I just wrote Stash Busters, KAL 2020. I wrote the start was 339 full skeins in my stash, and then I put a note that I did not count leftovers or partial skeins or mini skeins. So I noted that I did not count any of those, and then I put end. So at the end of the year, I'm gonna put how many skeins I have in my stash. But the way that I'm gonna track that is I have a January page. So I just put January 2020. I put in stash 339, and then I'm gonna tally mark how many I use. And then I'm also gonna tally mark how many I add to the stash. So if I knit a pair of socks, like I have a couple of whips going with stash yarn, I knit a pair of socks using stash yarn, I will track that. Even if it's a new skein that I buy and then I use it, I'm gonna track it here in the use so that I can keep a running total, but obviously it won't count for the stash if it's something that I bought after January. But yeah, I'm gonna put how many skeins I use each month. I'm just gonna do the tally marks and keep track there, and then how many I add, and then I'll see what I have at the end of the month. And then I will move that total of in stash over to the February page at the start of February and do the same. So I'm gonna do that throughout this year to keep track. Nothing crazy. Like I said, I'm not putting restrictions on myself that I cannot buy. I just want to practice mindfulness with my purchasing. Really, and I would love to do this. I think I have been doing this a lot more for any purchase that I make, but I really want to practice mindfulness with my yarn purchasing. Do I absolutely love it? I cannot live without it. I have to have it. Do I have a project in mind? Because, so the main thing, I have some sweaters quantities back here, but I don't know, that's kind of my self-striping. A lot of the fingering weight single skeins that I have, I just bought with the thought that, oh, I can make socks from them, which is fine. You can make socks from them, but I kind of want to, I wish that in my purchasing, I had thought more about something that I can put with other things for a shawl, or that I can mix in other projects. I just bought a lot of things with the kind of fallback that I can use them for socks. So I feel like I have a ton of single skeins that might not go well with other things for shawls or things like that. So I really want to be mindful in my purchasing, just going forward. So I'm not saying don't buy. I will still, because I've had a lot of people say, oh, you get your swapless swaps. You just bought that club, but you're doing a stash thing. I'm not saying I'm never going to buy yarn. I don't want to put that restriction on myself. I think some people can and it's fine for them, but I don't want to put that restriction on myself. I just want to be more mindful. I want to be using more, taking more out of my stash and using it than I'm putting in. So I will still be getting my swapless swaps. I will still be doing my Yarnable subscription boxes. I've been loving Pineapple Yarn, her clubs that she's been doing with a skein of yarn and a candle. So I'll probably do a couple of those this year. I don't think that I'll do one every month, but I'll probably do a couple of those throughout this year because I thoroughly enjoyed the couple that I've gotten. So yeah, I'm not saying I'm never gonna buy yarn. I just want to be more mindful. Of course, these are my Desert Vista Dye Works. A lot of these throughout here are Desert Vista Dye Works. I'm doing her knit along again this year, and I don't have enough to do the year. So I'm going to still be getting some Desert Vista Dye Works. I will not say I'm not buying, but again, that's not my thought process going into the KAL, is that I need to absolutely put a halt to any purchases. I just want to be more mindful with my purchases and use more of this than I'm putting in because I don't have a lot of room left in here. Let's be honest, there's not a lot of room left to put the yarn. So I need to create some room. But okay, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I thought it would be fun to sit down and chat about it, about the rules. It's kind of easier to understand them sometimes when they're being explained instead of just typed up in the chatter thread. And then I thought it would be fun to go over my mindset going into the knit along. So I hope that you guys found this enjoyable, and I will see you guys again soon. Happy knitting. Bye.